We're so excited, as she'd say, to introduce all of you to another member of our soul family, Hope De La Mora. We met Hope through our friend and fellow seeker, Sherry Salata. Karen and I both had transformative sessions with Hope. She refers to herself as a wisdom steward and reconnection cultivator. Hope blends several spiritual modalities to create an experience like no other. We're going to talk to her all about it, and we have a feeling you'll learn about practices that you may never have heard of. Hi, Hope.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad you're here. And we want to hear all about what you do. I mean, we know what you do because we've experienced it. But can you break it down and tell everyone who's listening about the experiences that you provide and the modalities that you use?
There are several facets to it. And I'll say, like, foremost, I feel my role here is as what I call a reconnection cultivator. And that is helping others to acknowledge and unlock their own inherent wisdom and reconnecting them to the natural cycle, the natural order, because it's in this sort of collective field that we have this ability to access this awakened state. So that's foremost. But in my practice, what I'm known for is Talisman Healing Sessions. And so with those, I channel crystal consciousness. Channeling crystal consciousness is something I've been doing over most of the course of my life. When I was younger, I had a jewelry business and it kind of started that way. And I was like mining in North Carolina, mining my own gemstones and this type of thing. And that just carried on over the course of my life. I broke away from it for a bit, but then when I was called to dive fully into healing, there was a connection there with the crystals and designs that I would channel and implementing those within the healing. So the process is going through a Reiki healing session, and I implement Usui, which is like the traditional Reiki that most folks are familiar with, and then Galactic healing, which is calling upon all of your guides, your star family, etc., and Sehem, which is an Egyptian Reiki modality. So these are the ones that I implement. Also my own modalities, channeling different symbols that are unique to my own practice that I use. And so we go through the session, and then after the session, I use sound healing during to kind of help transmit the healing through the quantum field. I feel like it definitely empowers it. And then I will do a reading, a card reading after the healing portion of the session. And then based on the energies that come through during the session, I will create a talisman for the individual with the crystals that are calibrated for their unique needs and their soul path. So it's quite the process, but it is so amazing. It's so unique, so beneficial. And I love the healing part of it because I take notes during the process, which I'm not sure if there's like a lot of Reiki healers that take notes, but I am one of them. And I will channel through and do automatic writing. So people's guides are coming through and talking to me, and there are unique words or phrases that only the individual that I'm doing the healing on knows. But when I bring it up, it like prompts something for them. So the only way I can say is it's a multi-modality custom healing that I have created.
I have questions. I can see Karen too has questions. We need to jump in.
Yeah, there's so much that you gave us there. And I think one of the things that enticed us so much to have this healing session is it was such a unique blending of all of these different modalities. Just for listeners who might not be familiar with all of them just yet, can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by crystal consciousness? Because I know that's a really integral part of what you do and a real part of the big takeaway that you get as a result of going through your sessions. I just want to make sure people understand what you mean by crystal consciousness.
Yeah, crystals are living, breathing entities on their own. And throughout the entirety of the earth, we have these crystalline grids that resonate with different frequencies and pull in different energies. And we're talking these beautiful crystalline structures that are like thousands, millions in many cases of years old. So they hold the wisdom of the earth and hold the wisdom of the environment. And that is what becomes integrated into the healing session. And I'm like getting crown tingles as I'm talking about it, but they speak to what these specific energetic balancing needs are of the individual. And so it's, I guess, an easy way to put it would be me talking to rocks.
But I love that you explain that because I think so many people are so drawn to crystals and don't really understand why. And this idea that they are living and have sort of this reciprocal relationship with us that we may not even be aware of is just so incredibly powerful. I just love that.
Well, and when you say, and it's you talking to rocks, like you actually also understanding them and then helping others understand them, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I think we all are capable of dialing into that too. With the reconnection aspect of this, as we begin unlocking our awakened state and our ability to feel into things and tap into our inherent knowing. I think like anyone can do this. Anyone can begin speaking to crystals or hearing crystals and hearing what's being translated. The natural world has always spoken to us. I think that's how we actually survived as a species. But we have become educated out of our inherent connection, and almost a level of hubris has come into play of knowing it all because, well, we know the science on things, and science does back up spirituality. When you want to dive into it, I encourage you to look into Dr. Lisa Miller, who talks about the science of spirituality, but that is a tool and not a religion, and something for us to look to as the be all end all. So I think it's our need to explain the world around us, which is important. That's part of us reconnecting, is tapping into explaining the world around us. But I suppose trying to think that we can like control the outcome and have this all knowingness around it, that's where we start to lose our natural connection to the natural order of things.
Can you just talk about the definition of what a talisman? It has so many implications when you don't know the word. What is your definition?
I mean, a talisman can be literally anything that you want it to be, as an object that you look to ground you, an object that brings you some level of power. The act of wearing talismans is like one of those oldest time, oldest humanity types of things. So whether you were a Viking running into war and put certain sigils on your shields, or indigenous and looking for like a fertility talisman or a protective talisman, these things have just existed. We've always implemented, I mean, anthropologically, I guess it would be called magical thinking, kind of like the Lascaux caves. You could think of the cave paintings in the Lascaux caves as a talisman. They were trying to call in the herds for a hunt. So these things that we want to call in are what we can use a talisman toward.
And I love that you are able to, in the session, be channeled and feel what is right for that soul that you're working with. Karen and I both had different sessions. We have completely different talismans. And some people, like for me, I knew I wanted bracelets. Anyone who knows me knows I wear lots of bracelets. For Karen, she wanted a necklace. And I think, I don't know, did she also get a bracelet too?
Yeah, I did, yes.
Right. And Hope, I know you've said this, it's like, you won't know until you're in it. It's very much an intuitive and iterative process while you're in it, right?
Yeah, totally. And it depends with those energetic centers. I do only do wrist or neck talismans at this point. So nothing with the ears yet, but I feel like if there's more energy kind of in the upper chakras and something that's needed in the throat area, then a necklace is going to be the way to go to amplify that power and balance, whatever's going on there. And bracelets, because it's such a simple tool for us to have crystals that we wear on our receiving hand, and your receiving hand is your non-dominant hand. So for me, that's my left hand. And I think that's the case with most people, but you can also feel into the energetic flow. So these crystals, I kind of was referencing earlier that it's almost like with the combinations, they act like barcodes. And so these barcodes can unlock different parts of the astral, sometimes different states of being in your conscious waking state. One of the experiences that I had was with a talisman that I created for myself with golden rutile quartz and K2. And K2 is from the second highest mountain in the world. It's hand gathered. It's quite a laborious process, but it's so high vibe. I mean, it's just explosive. And then you have the golden rutile quartz with that. And that is a Wi-Fi booster to the quantum field. So these two things together, I actually underestimated the level of power that I created in this talisman. And I was so excited. I had consecrated it. I had done the process. I was ready. I put it on, and there was this bananas shift that took place where all of a sudden the dream that I had earlier in the morning was starting to meld into my waking state life. And I was like, oh shit, I might need to like cool it a bit. And I was telling my husband, this is freaky, but I needed that information in that moment and that recalibration. And I do believe that was part of a timeline shift that was ushered in. So it's kind of, that's another topic we can talk about.
Yes, it is. Because we will we'll need to talk about that.
But it was a fascinating experience. And so it turned out that I could only wear it for a limited amount of time. And then it went up on my wall of talismans to breathe for a bit. But it's just so extraordinary that we have access to these types of tools for ourselves. And again, with the different types of combinations that are unique for you, if you decide to grab crystals for yourself and you feel drawn to them, those are things that you can use as a talisman.
Well, and I think your point, the barcodes, I know for me, some days I'm like, I don't need to wear all of this. Like I only need to wear these few. And before even having the talismans from you, I was creating my own combination. And I think your point is that that can shift and change on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And so you kind of feel into your own energy and what you need. And I love that the unlocking of what it can do. And I think that actually, when you brought up the astral, it made me think, number one, I think you need to explain astral to people who are listening, who may not know what you mean. And then you were talking about in your sessions, connecting with the galactic, which you did explain, but I think some people won't know what you mean by star energy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, the astral. God, this is also a broad topic because the astral can encompass many spaces in our sleeping state. I think that there are different philosophies on where we're going when we sleep. One of the predominant philosophies is that we're actually like returning to like a mothership and we're essentially participating in these like holographic experiences. And so when we're sleeping, we're kind of like taking a break from that, recouping, maybe going to experience other experiences through this mothership experience. But I have a different philosophy that I've generated myself on this. And who knows, maybe someone else out there has the same kind of philosophy. But there's this philosopher, Kwame Jeje, he's an African philosopher. And I learned about this in humanities in college, who spoke about how when you dream, you physically, your soul leaves your body and goes to another place. And that always resonated with me. And just in the last year, I've really been thinking about the possibility that because the timelines are infinite, that when we sleep and when we have these astral experiences, that our soul is physically going to another timeline and having that experience, potentially when we're asleep on that other timeline. And so we're playing this soul swap game to have these different experiences. And the astral time is really the safest way to break away from that anchor consciousness, which I mean waking state as anchor consciousness. So that could be, and this too could very well be a dream. So that's worth considering that we're in a dream state right now.
That's right. That's right. It's so interesting. And when you're talking about star energy.
Yeah. So there are also theories about where our origins are. And we do know this, that even from like the kind of scientific evolutionary Big Bang standpoint, we are stardust. This is where we come from. We are from an explosion in space. But there are thoughts around the Annunaki, and this is a whole nother broad topic, but
oh my God. I mean, I know there's so many, we're going to be talking to you many times.
Oh my God. Yes. There are thoughts around the Annunaki, which are the earliest Babylonian gods. Really, this is the first religion that we saw on the face of Earth that is recorded. But Annunaki created humans, and that they came from Nibiru, a planet in our solar system, in order to, some of the theories say, mine gold, because this is something that they would use, much like we use in a lot of space equipment that they would, use in their equipment. But that puts humanity also in a position of being almost a servant class to
I was going to say
the Anunnaki. And so there are many thoughts on that, but I do tend to think that we are from galactic families and that they do have a connection to us and they're looking out for us and they're seeing what is happening in our day-to-day life. So like the Pleiadians are our benevolent star family and star guides. I'm sure you've heard of like the Galactic Federation and these types of things in terms of the guidance that they deliver us on a daily basis. They're supporting us. They're rooting for us. They're also part of the effort to help us reconnect to our own abilities, our own powers, and our inherent wisdom and unlocking that. So that's what I mean when I talk about galactic family. And it could be even more broad. There are guides out there that we all have that we do not know that we have yet. And so I would also say this, like what I feel like one of my specialties has been is identifying guides guides. For myself in particular, and some of my clients, they'll come through in our sessions. I just wanted to give a little tip on identifying guides, because I often hear people ask, how do I know? How do I know who my guides are? Well, definitely sit in meditation and stillness for a moment and see what comes through. But your guides give you symbols all the time. There's this idea that maybe it's something like apophenia that causes this, which is the psychological reasoning behind us creating stories and linking things that are not necessarily linked. I don't think this is the case, because it is not coincidental when these signs come through. So my guides will send me animals consistently, and they'll do it across a card reading, outside, something happening on a YouTube video that I'm on. It just is across the board. It becomes in your face over and over and over. And so then there are other little doses of things, and you're like, doves and dolphins have been coming out a lot. What is this? And then what is this water energy that's coming out a lot? Let me look into that. And maybe it's Aphrodite. And then you get that confirmation of, yes, that indeed is the guide that's coming through. And also hearing the names of your guides in your mind's eye. I know in 2019, when my real break came through of my guides entering the picture for me, I could sense this. I don't like to say the names of my guides, so I'll describe it. He's an usher of the ancestors, is what I will say. And I could sense him, and I didn't know what was quite happening. But then I heard a name, not like whispering. I mean, in my mind's eye, heard a name. And this is interesting. I've never heard this before. I've never seen this before. So I went and I looked it up, and immediately blown away, because I was like, this is real. Like, this is a real thing that's happening right now.
Wow.
And that has happened time and again. I know numbers are a way as well that a lot of people experience their guides come through, and these repetitive angel numbers, as we refer to them, but it's everywhere all the time. And they are looking out for you. They are supporting you, and they have your back. So just get still and dialed in, and you'll hear them.
It's so funny, because we were just talking about signs, symbols, angel numbers in our last newsletter. The 2222 just came. So it's such an affirmative guidance to get from someone like you as well, Hope, who put these symbols to work in a way, right? Like, not just use them as, oh, good winks from the universe, but like you said, go look them up and see what deeper meaning that they have for you. And especially if they keep reoccurring, I feel the same way. The universe, or your guides, or whoever you want to refer to them as, go out of their way to get in your face so that you recognize them when they show up. I just want to say, like, you just blew my mind, because I think, and probably some others who are listening, because here we are thinking that to some extent we're in this life experience trying to learn these lessons and find our soul's purpose. You've kind of introduced as this idea of, well, we could be living multiple lives and multiple souls' purpose all at the same time with this timeline theory, but kind of taking us back to maybe why we need more alignment than we even realize. Because if we are just trying to navigate our day to day, and then are having sort of these other experiences coming back into our body, it might be even more complicated, because we're coming from one level of energy back into our body. We're still trying to navigate this experience. Can you just talk a little bit about that, and how through your readings, you're actually giving people these tools? It's not just a reading that's sort of one and done that you're giving them, but you're giving them these takeaway tools that will sort of help that calibration continue after a session with you.
Yeah. And I would say, just to add to that, because it's not just a reading, you're also clearing and or resetting, I think is the word I used before, our energy system, which we've talked about before as your chakra system. You may want to talk to that too, in addition to what Karen was asking.
Yeah, I think coming away from a session with me, the expectation can be that you have had that clearing of those energy centers, you're recalibrated, balanced. I think what I hear most often from my clients is that they just feel so centered and at peace. And then if you do a talisman session, like, you're going to receive that healing with a regular Reiki session. But if you do a talisman session, then you do have that touchstone that you can take away with you. And when you do need to kind of get back to center, then you can put that talisman on. But I do want to offer up something that everybody can do to bring themselves back to center, and also deliver energy healing to themselves. And this is great for starting the process of getting back in touch with our unique capabilities and our connection to the quantum field. So I just want you to first put your hands up and envision a crystalline white light and crystalline blue light flowing into the palms of your hands. Really feel it streaming in, feel that little bit of pressure as it enters your hands. This is you receiving energy, universal life force energy. And then I want you to start to bring that energy in and start putting your hands together, not all the way, just enough. And start feeling that energy between your hands. Do you feel it? Do you feel it building? Okay. Now kind of just gently rock your hands. Start creating like a little bit of a ball with the energy that you have. Start molding the ball. And now hold this. Do you feel it? Do you feel this light ball that you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now bring that in, and whatever chakra you want to put that in, if you want to put it in your forehead, which is your third eye, your throat, your heart, just place it gently wherever you want to place it. I like to place it in my heart and take that in.
Wow.
That's just a way that we can all get back to center when we have all of this chaos happening in our lives.
Well, that's our secret power for the week.
Literally, it's really powerful. I really feel it.
Me too. I mean, I had like heat going in my hands.
And a little tingling happening as well.
Yeah. And everyone can do this.
Everyone can do this.
And I love that it ties with finding your center. That's what Karen and I ask every day. How are we seeking our center today?
Where are we? Are we anywhere near center? One thing, Hope, you talk about a little bit too is not only do you have these amazing talismans that you offer after the session, but then you do this incredible write-up of all of the notes and everything you see. And it's sort of your take-home guide of everything you've experienced. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So with a talisman session, I definitely want you to have a takeaway of understanding what those different stones are and what the purposes are of them. There are a lot of, like, if you look up stones definitions, there are a lot of crossovers with some of the energies that come through. I think these have been identified by many channelers of crystal consciousness. And so there is a bit of a guide mainstay. So if you were to look a stone up on the internet, you would probably find a definition for it. But in a talisman session, some of these stones will take on different definitions. And so I want to make sure that my clients are very clear on the why behind everything and what it's for, and the purpose as it integrates with the healing session that we've done together. So I compile that into a PDF along with any cards that we pulled during the session. And then I send that to them with a video of the session, because as we go through the card reading, it's easy to forget sometimes if you're not sitting there furiously taking notes. Yeah, I just want them to walk away with all of the tools and have that as a guide to refer back to.
And I think it's helpful for people to know when you're actually receiving the Reiki that everyone probably receives differently. For me, my body was tingling and I was seeing so much. And then I think I was legit astral traveling for parts of it. So I was definitely out of body or in another timeline and coming back in. And I could feel that you were wrapping me up. I can still see it now. And I still feel it because it wasn't that long ago. It was so special, but not everybody may be that visual, and that's okay. You might kind of fall asleep and be in this very meditative space during it. It's going to be unique to every person. And I just hope that everyone realizes that you're still receiving it, even if you're not visualizing it or legit vibrating like I was. So.
And it's sometimes you may even feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing anything. For me, I don't get as much as Robin does usually visually, but in this session, I couldn't believe it. I said, I saw a lot of purple, this incredible amethyst, the chevron amethyst. It's very much the purple energy. So you can't doubt yourself almost when you are in the session. If you can kind of track a little bit about what you see and remember, it is pretty incredible how when we compared notes afterwards, there were so many things that you saw that I was picking up on and vice versa. And then the oracle reading, like that's what's so magical about this. You get this incredible healing, and then you go on to this oracle card reading as well, which not surprisingly ties in so much with not only the session, but even any intention that you've set. And another thing we should also say, I hope that you do such a great job of doing, is you prep people so well to know exactly what to expect coming into the session. And not everybody does that.
I know I always say I'm a bit clinical about it, but that's kind of the thing. I am a practitioner. And so I want to be sure that my clients feel confident in the process and know exactly what's going to happen throughout the process.
I just need to share that one of the guides that came through for me, and I don't know, Hope, if you remember this, but they were French.
Yep.
So I guess you were receiving all this information in French, and that's not necessarily a language that you speak often.
Nope. No, it's funny when it comes through in different languages. I'm just like, okay.
We all know where Robin goes when she's astral projecting.
I know. And
off to Paris.
And what Hope doesn't know is that I don't speak French, but my daughter does. And my daughter is 13, almost 14. And since she's 5 years old, has really been obsessed with France and French and learning French and Paris, which does not resonate with my husband and I. However, it is something we talk about every day with my daughter. And so it wasn't surprising to me that this guide was French. I don't know. I just knew it tied with my daughter in some way. And she got such a kick out of when I read her the notes and she listened to the record. I wanted to share that because it's so unique.
Yeah, I'm sure your daughter has a past life experience from being in France and that this is probably her guide that's communicating.
Absolutely. I mean, she has already prepped my husband and I that she will be living in France as an adult and we better be ready to visit her and her family in France. So we have accepted that. Now, if she ends up closer, we'll be psyched, but at least I'll have a great place to visit. Well, we also want to know how you discovered your gifts. I know you kind of alluded to this in the beginning of our conversation. We've talked about how everyone can do this, but not everybody can do it like you do. And so how did that come to be?
And how did you come together to all of these different layers in this specific way?
Yeah. And with the curiosity, right? To investigate all of these.
So multi-layered, multifaceted for sure. I'm one of those who, like, since I was a child, have been having paranormal experiences. And then I grew up in a way with a household where we were part of the Native American church and going to powwow. And so we were experiencing that, then also experiencing Baptist church, then experiencing New Age. And I would be pulled out of school to go meditate in the woods, so like there are all of these elements of my upbringing that actually play a role in this, as well as trauma. And I just want to be very clear about that because trauma does, in a way, I think, advance us spiritually because we begin identifying things environmentally and becoming more perceptive than we would otherwise be. And there's this kind of wonderful parity between resilience and spirituality that has been nurtured over time through these experiences and just becoming more resilient with experiences. So it's multifold with that. And I always knew that I wanted to be a healer. I just always knew, like when I grew up, there were only two things I ever wanted to be. And one was a shaman and the other was president of the United States.
I like the combination.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been in an effort to help people, right? And I think we'll save any political conversations for another time. But really, my path is as a healer, and I've always known that. And so, in 2019, when guides started coming through and just there was this pivotal shift, that's when I was like, I'm ready to do this. And so my business partner, Joanna, was also my mentor specifically for energy healing. She's a multimodality Reiki master. And so she trained me in these things and also was very encouraging all the time of my own abilities and channeling through my own abilities and just hearing what was being spoken to me through the quantum field. And so through that is where I ended up developing this multimodality approach to healing. And it's channeled. It's so interesting because I want to say more about the why, but my guides gave it to me. Like, I was compelled to do this because this is what I'm pulled to do. And I am infinitely curious. I will say that. I want to know everything about everything. And that's why I went into anthropology as well, because I am fascinated by the why behind all the things, the who and the what and what's going on. And I really do think that two feeds spirituality. I think you're really only one neural pathway away from developing a deeper spiritual connection. And so get curious, start investigating, start looking at the signs, start bringing it in that way. Because again, I know I've said it many times, but it is accessible to all of us, and overthinking it is, I think, where we have the obstacles.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Get curious, everyone.
You're seeking center.
That's right.
That's right.
We're excited for people to find you.
I have a couple things. I actually do want to give one more little ritual, and that is
that would be great.
Fast one. Speak to your water. Speak to your water and tell it that you love it. Speak mantras into it. Water has memory. And when we take that into our bodies, because we're taking in the magic of the energy of that mantra. So just a quick fun one.
Can you give us an example, Hope?
I tell my water, I love you.
I love that. I do that too.
So good. I mean, we are water. There's a whole conversation on cymatics that we'll have to have sometime, and like the sacred geometry of water memory. Extraordinary.
Yes, it is. And I love that you brought that up because number one, we all drink water every single day. So everyone can do this. Literally everyone can
do it.
And you don't even have to do it out loud. You can just say it in your mind, right?
I prefer to say it out loud because of the vibrational frequency actually being communicated. But if you feel most comfortable mentally communicating it to your water, just setting that intention in that moment and being present, that will immediately work wonders.
So I'm holding up my water. I love you, water.
I love this idea of blessing something that you're going to be ingesting and nurturing your body with. It's so beautiful.
Notice the difference too. Just take notice of how you do feel after you're ingesting this water that you've spoken into. I promise you, you will be amazed.
You gave us really two powerful, because our whole intention every week is to share useful rituals and practices that people can start using right away. And with both that you gave today, people can start doing that
today. Absolutely. Accessible.
And by the way, it doesn't cost a thing.
Doesn't cost a thing. That's right.
That's huge. Love that. Could we pull an oracle card that would help guide people for the week of February 28th?
I've already pulled oracle cards for us. And I shouldn't say pulled because that's the reason I have them beforehand. I don't pull cards ever. I take jumpers. So because I receive the cards.
Can you explain what that means? What's a jumper?
Yeah. So I shuffle. I do not do like a shuffle and pull or split the deck and pull. I shuffle until cards come out. And that is how I'm getting goosebumps, because every single time that is how whatever narrative has happened throughout a healing session is reinforced by the cards. And it blows my mind every time. So I really think that's the way to do it. I think everyone has their method, but just you really hear spirit authentically when you shuffle and just have them received in that way. So the ones that came out, I used two decks. I used the Archangel Metatron deck, and in the spirit of our Galactic family, my Pleiadians deck is actually called the Pleiadian Oracle. It is wonderful. And the cards that came out all reinforce each other. So the first is Light Body, and this is Archangel Metatron's card. The next one was the Golden Egg from the Pleiadian deck, and then Energy Work from the Pleiadian deck. And so the narrative that I see here between these cards is about us stepping into our power, stepping into our light body, stepping into our capacity as our own healers and surrendering so we can deliver what it is we want to deliver to the universe, knowing we're already on the path. We just need to let go. And then the energy healing aspect of it, the energy work aspect of it, because we are all capable of pulling this in from the quantum field. We're all capable of pulling this in from the universe. And color-wise, what I love across these cards is we're looking at a lot of blue, indigo, violet. So really upper chakra activation. This coming week, I believe, on the 2nd of March is the new moon Pisces. So take a spiritual bath, release the old, step into your spiritual power this week, because we are headed toward big things coming out of this 2022 portal. It's up to you to craft this timeline now.
Oh my goodness. That is so powerful.
I think it's a message that everybody can relate to right now.
It really does reinforce everything that, number one, we talked about today, that we've been talking about over the last few weeks.
Yeah. Humanity is ready.
The egg too, I think, is so fitting for spring coming and new energy, new trails that we're all blazing, and really welcoming and nurturing that with light, sunshine, anything we have for growth going into whatever's next on our path. And they're from different decks. How beautiful that they play together that way.
Yeah, extraordinary. Always extraordinary.
Oh my goodness. So when people are looking for you, where can they find you, Hope?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Hope_Ascendant, and Ascendant with an A. So that's worth noting. Or you can just contact me directly at info@hopeascendant.com or hope@hopeascendant.com. We're in progress with the website, so you can just reach out to me directly. We can DM.
Excellent.
And I think we should share pictures of our talismans.
Oh, we definitely will.
Everybody can see
Absolutely.
what they are.
Stunning, and they feel just electric. I'm infinitely grateful to now be connected forever with you and to have these talismans that give me this energy that I need on a daily basis. It's given me confidence. It's helped me feel more powerful and in my own energy, my most authentic self. So thank you.
Permanent reminder, a souvenir from the experience that we've had together that we can always reactivate and use.
Yes.
So thank you so much. And for sharing all of this wisdom. I think that we could have many.
Yes, we're going to be coming back to Hope to have more conversations on timelines, on cymatics. There's so much more to discuss. So thank you. Reach out to Hope, and we know you will feel as blessed as we do.
Thank you both. Big love, abundant gratitude, and increased blessings. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. And we can't believe we got 2 secret powers for the week, and they don't cost a thing. And if you want to catch our download for this week, you should subscribe to the newsletter. It's all about marching forward. We're so excited to be on this journey with you. We're learning things every single week, and we hope you are too. Remember, you can go to seekingcenter.app to sign up for the newsletter, and you can follow us at Seeking Center Official on Instagram and Seeking Center on TikTok. Have a great week. Hey!